Hello and welcome to the AFC Virtual Travel Show. We are going to be going over our top 20 tours for 2023 with a focus on the first half of the year. Just a reminder, we have so many different trips and departures to choose from. If you don't see the ones you're looking for, please check the brochure or our website at afcvacations.com to see much more. My name is Reece, and I've had the pleasure of doing these shows for several years now with AFC. I'm also very excited to be heading out on the road as my first passion of tour managing for the culinary tour of Tuscany coming up in about a week from now. Really looking forward to traveling with more of our folks and showing you some amazing sights in my home away from home in Italy. But today, I will be covering some of our most desired and best-selling trips. The reason these tours are so successful is because they really do cover so much ground while not feeling rushed. Now, these trips are well managed by an expert team both in our office and our tour managers who do a great job in taking care of all the details. Now, I'll start on the West Coast and work our way to the East and also cover some exceptional journeys to Europe as well. And we are in our peak travel season right now, so many different trips on the road, and we hope you'll join us on one of these fantastic itineraries. Now, a few of the key pieces of what make AFC Vacations so special and unique really come down to our excellent team of real people handling all of the aspects of your program here in San Diego. Our staff has a wealth of knowledge and expertise on these trips and look forward to assisting you in making travel easy. Now, from exceptional worldwide destinations to fantastic accommodations, expert tour managers, and delicious meals, AFC really does cover it all. We also have a number of different travel styles, whether it's our one hotel stays or our river cruises and train trips, a lot of different ways to travel, and we are excited to share those with you. Now, for over 25 years, we've been making travel easier by providing round-trip airport pickup service. So we pick you up at your home, take you to the airport, and bring you home from your return flight. And it takes a lot of the guesswork out of getting to and from the airport. And it's one of the things that people come back to us and say that really separates us from other companies. Also new for 2023 is a $100 credit for home pickup. Now, with the growth of Uber and Lyft, we found that a lot of people are asking about an alternative method to getting to the airport. And this means if you choose not to take the home pickup service, your final payment will be reduced by $100, and it provides a little more flexibility to you. Now, AFC has a number of different guarantees in how we operate, and one of the items we introduced this year was guaranteed pricing. Now, once you deposit for your trip and you're paid with your deposit on your tour, your price is locked in. So even as fuel prices change, we saw that in the spring, back in April as we were heading out to the Seine in Paris, the cruise company sent us a $10,000 fuel surcharge, and we absorbed that cost and didn't pass it on to our travelers. And that's what that guarantee locks in for you, is that pricing assuredness. Now, we also have guaranteed departures. So when you see the GD symbol in the brochure and on the show, that means we have enough passengers on that departure to run. And as we move closer to 2023, you'll see more of these programs going to guaranteed departure status. Now, at AFC, we also offer low-cost travel insurance with a cancel for any reason benefit. That provides security as you move closer to your tour. Now, our mystery tours are some of our most memorable trips, and we have a number of different tour managers running these for 2023. And these trips are a huge success and sell out nearly every departure. Please remember, just because the mystery tour says Encore or New in our brochures, we have over 60 different mystery tour destinations, and it could still be new to you. And that's where our staff comes in to help you pick the right departure for you. So how they work is when you book, you'll be advised how to pack and the average weather in the destination, as well as some helpful hints. About 3 weeks prior, you'll get your tour packet telling you when your flight leaves, and then it's always fun to tell the folks at the check-in counter you don't know where you're going. So once you check in, you'll get your boarding pass and an identification of where your first destination is, but that's not always where the tour will be. So we do like to move around a little bit and kind of leave some clues throughout the tour. But these trips are for folks who have been to most major U.S. cities and destinations, and those have a great sense of adventure. So they're really creative and fun itineraries with the seasons and weather considered. Now, regarding our top tours in terms of our regular programs, Great Trains and Grand Canyons is our top selling tour on the West Coast, and you can see all the departure dates on the top for each of these programs. So this tour operates during the spring and fall as we avoid the heat of the Arizona summer. We stay 5 nights surrounded by the beautiful red rocks of Sedona, and our first full day takes us around Sedona on a trolley tour that also stops at the Chapel of the Holy Cross, which was built in 1954, right up into the rocks itself. And we take you to Uptown Sedona, as well as the artist community of Tlaquepaque on that first day. Now, one of the big highlights of this trip is driving through Oak Creek Canyon, which is a beautiful stretch just north of Sedona. And we're heading out to Williams on that day, and that's where we board the Grand Canyon Railroad to the south rim of the Grand Canyon. It really is magical stepping through the Bright Angel Lodge and seeing the canyon laid out in front of you at the back of that lodge. And then an unknown highlight for most is our journey on the Verde Canyon Railroad. And this takes us through the most lush and beautiful stretch of Arizona, lying just to the west of Sedona. Really, the biggest draw is staying at one hotel for your entire stay, where you don't have to pack and unpack over and over again. So really fantastic trip. I love to lead this one, but all sorts of dates from February on through October of 2023. Now, this is a great tour that we are excited to bring back for one departure only in 2023, and that's April 26th with Chris McCool. And again, this is your only opportunity to see these 6 state parks and 6 national parks on one tour. So we include round-trip air for all of our tours from many different airports that you can see in our brochure. And this tour specifically starts and ends in Las Vegas, Nevada. And we'll head from there into the beauty and nature of the national parks by staying 2 nights in Zion National Park. Now, the valley floor there is surrounded by 2,000-foot high Navajo sandstone cliffs of red rock, which are really mind-blowing. And the park itself has over 1,000 species of plants, including cottonwood, all along the river, prickly pear cactus, and yucca. This trip also includes Bryce Canyon and its hoodoo formations that have eroded with wind, rain, and snow. These hoodoo formations attract millions of visitors per year. And one of the interesting pieces of that is all of the rocks here contain abundant calcium carbonate. And that's a mineral that dissolves when it comes into contact with even the slightest acidic water. And that's the rain that comes into Bryce. Now, we include both Capitol Reef as well as a 2-night stay in Moab, which is the central point to visit both Arches and Canyonlands. Monument Valley is a location where many of the Wild West movies were filmed, and it's a beautiful wide open territory that you can picture going back 200 years when there were no buildings and the Native Americans took care of the land. Our grand finale on this tour will be a stop at the north rim of the Grand Canyon to see its splendor. So there are still some single supplement savings for this departure. So again, we do have some great saving opportunities on all of our tours. One of our new tours that came out in 2022 is our Hawaii 3 Islands departure. And we have multiple dates, February, March, and November. So these are great times to travel over to the islands. And this chain of islands was created through volcanic activity and developed 8 major islands of the archipelago. And our tour features a fantastic overview of the 3 main islands visited. And those are Oahu, Maui, and the Big Island of Hawaii. So we'll arrive on Oahu, where we stay right near Waikiki Beach in Honolulu for 3 nights. And the following day, you'll visit Pearl Harbor, learn about the events that took place on December 7th, 1941, that brought America full swing into World War II. Then you'll also board the Navy skiff and head out to the USS Arizona to pay respects to the men and women who perished during the attack. From there, you'll set off on a city tour of Honolulu that includes Punch Bowl Crater, the state capitol, and the governor's mansion. You'll also have the choice of a day off at Waikiki Beach or take a Circle Island tour to see the Dole Plantation, North Shore, and a number of other stunning sights. Next, it's on to the Big Island, where you'll visit Volcanoes National Park, as well as a visit to the Black Sand Volcanic Beach, and that's where you can see both green and hawksbill turtles. The sand here is made of pitch black fragments of cooled volcanic lava. Then you'll check into your resort on the Kona coast, and that stay is 2 nights, and travel to historic Kailua Kona for dinner included that night. And you can try the local beer Kona Brewing Company, famous for their longboard lager, or Kona coffee, and that's one of the most flavorful coffees in the world due to the volcanic soil that it's grown in. So you'll enjoy the following day on your own to settle in, or take a whale watching cruise out to see the spinner dolphins, humpbacks, and other species. You'll fly to my favorite island, which is Maui, and you'll travel to Iowa Valley and see some of the luscious parts of the islands. Then you'll make your way over to Lahaina, and that's a quaint whaling village, and stay for 3 nights at your resort. In the morning, you'll head up to above the clouds to the Haleakala Crater and National Park for stunning views over the island. And we conclude this trip with a true Hawaiian luau experience with dances that teach the story of Polynesian culture, which made its way through the Pacific Islands. It's a really wonderful trip getting to see 3 of the main islands here. Now, Yellowstone and Mount Rushmore is a beautiful tour, and we enjoyed 2 nights on arrival in the City of Presidents, and that is Rapid City, because on each of the street corners they have a statue of one of the presidents with all sorts of fantastic facts and information. Now, this is a hub for many activities in the Black Hills of South Dakota, and that includes our visit to Mount Rushmore as well as Crazy Horse. From there, it's off to the west, the Wild West to be specific, as we stop in Deadwood. And that's where we'll learn about characters like Bill Hickok, Calamity Jane, and many more who are actually buried in the cemetery above. Now we continue on to Devil's Tower en route to Sheridan, and that rises 1,267 feet above the Belle Fourche River, and from base to summit about 867 feet. Now many rock climbers have attempted to scale it over the years, and one of my favorite stops on the tour is to the Buffalo Bill Cody Museum. Now this is actually a 5-part museum at the center of the West. So you have the Plains Indian cultures, trailblazing cowboys and cowgirls, classic and modern Western arts, and a lot more. So we'll spend several hours there. And then we head into Yellowstone National Park through the east entrance. And it's a beautiful journey from Cody past Buffalo Bill Reservoir, the Shoshone River that we'll be traveling along, and Yellowstone Lake. And we stay 2 nights in West Yellowstone, then do a full loop tour that highlights Old Faithful, as well as many of the fountain pots and Yellowstone Canyon. Now we drive south along the peaks of the Grand Tetons, and that was the picture that we had at the start of the show. And we work our way down to Jackson Hole, which is a resort town, primarily during this winter for the ski season, but also during the summer. And you'll have the opportunity to stop and see these majestic mountains as we make our way to the hotel. So this tour winds down with a Salt Lake City tour that highlights the Mormon Tabernacle, State Capitol, and University of Utah. And we have 2 departures for 2023. That is June 15th with Deb Howard and July 13th with Larry Womack. So great tour managers taking care of you. Now, Seattle San Juan Islands and Alaska Cruise. We ran this one this year and had a fantastic time on that tour. This year we have Chris McCool leading it on July 28th, and there are a couple little differences that I'll talk about. But we'll start with 2 nights in Seattle. That includes a city tour that highlights the Space Needle and Pike Place Market. And the market's the longest continuously operating farmers market in the U.S. and has all sorts of treats. That includes the place where they throw the salmon, Pike Place Market Fishery. And then we also head up to Edmonds, Washington, and that's where we board a whale watching cruise through the San Juan Islands. And that is the epicenter of whale activity in Washington, as there are 3 main pods of orca, or killer whale, who make this region their home. Then we board the MS Westerdam for a 7-night journey to the last frontier of Alaska. And the Westerdam features excellent bars, entertainment, and dining venues, plus completely reimagined suites. So the Westerdam is a fascinating destination in her own right and has won multiple Best Cruise Ship awards. Now on board, you'll enjoy live entertainment, regional cooking demonstrations, and food and wine tastings. Then all sorts of different excursions are available. The 3 main ports of call will be Juneau, Ketchikan, and Sitka. Each have their own unique features. Juneau with its gold rush history, and nearby Mendenhall Glacier, Ketchikan with its salmon fishing heritage and Alaskan native roots, and then Sitka, which is out on Baranov Island, and its connections to Russia and the Fortress of the Bear, which is actually a bear habitat that you can go and visit. Then the main highlight is Hubbard Glacier, which is North America's largest tidewater glacier, and it's over 75 miles long and 7 miles wide, feeding into the Pacific Ocean. So this is a can't miss opportunity to see the wonders of the Northwest and Alaska. Now, this is one of our most popular experiences to take in throughout the United States. It's a bucket list item and surely one you can't miss. From its modest beginnings in 1972 with 13 balloons launching at that time out of a shopping mall parking lot, the Balloon Fiesta has grown to a 9-day event, launching from the custom-designed 365-acre Balloon Fiesta Park. That's quite a difference, going from a shopping parking lot to a large whole field dedicated to these balloons. And there are over 500 of them. It's the largest balloon event on Earth, the most photographed event on Earth, and the largest annual international event held in the United States. So you'll fly into Albuquerque for 2 nights, and the following day you'll have 2 chances to see the balloons take off. First, early in the morning, you'll head to the Mass Ascension. As the sun rises over the hills, the balloons fill up and take off. This is one of the only balloon events where you actually are able to walk among the balloons and talk to the pilots. You'll take some time in the afternoon for lunch in Old Town Albuquerque, and return in the evening for the balloon glow with over 100 balloons taking off. Now, as we make our way north to Santa Fe, you'll see the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center, focusing on the different tribes and customs of the Southwest. Then we stop at the Los Alamos Bradbury Science Center, and that's where you learn all about the Manhattan Project. Then the following day, we're off to Taos, which is an Indian pueblo just north of Santa Fe. And en route, we visit Chimayo's El Santuario, and this is the oldest Spanish church in the United States, dating to the early 1800s, and receives over 300,000 visitors per year. It's part of a massive pilgrimage from Santa Fe as well. And we feature a wonderful city tour in Santa Fe on our last full day that highlights the Laredo Chapel, the Palace of the Governors, and the main plaza. So we've added 2 dates for 2023, as you can see above, October 6th and October 13th. And this has been such a popular departure over the years. Then our Niagara Falls and the Grand Hotel program. This starts out by flying into Detroit and staying 2 nights in Dearborn, Michigan. And Dearborn is the heart of car country when it comes to Ford. And so you'll see 2 different Ford museums, the Henry Ford Museum, focusing on the family and his history, and then getting to see the River Rouge truck plant where they build the F-150s. And so it's an amazing tour through the facility there. Then we head north to Mackinac Island, and Mackinac is car-free. So we will be taking a ferry across about 20 minutes over to the island, and there we are picked up by horse-drawn carriage. And so you're taken back in time, truly, to visit this historic property, the Grand Hotel. And we have a fantastic evening plan for you as well, where you get all dressed up and have dinner as well, dancing and all sorts of fun. Then from Mackinac, we'll do a city tour as well with those horse-drawn carriages, and then head south into Frankenmuth. And it's kind of in that little thumb pocket of Michigan. And Frankenmuth is a Bavarian-themed town, a fantastic Christmas store. It's huge, the size of a Costco. And then we head over to Niagara Falls, and we get to spend 2 nights at the falls on the Canadian side generally, getting to view the falls in multiple different ways, whether it's underneath on the Maid of the Mist cruise or a movie, and then also above the falls. So a wonderful program, May, June, September, and October for 2023. Now, Savannah and Charleston is truly a spectacular tour to experience the best of the Southeast. And we incorporate parts of 3 states with a deep focus on the Atlantic coastal stretch of South Carolina and Georgia. Now, we start in beautiful Charleston, where we stay for 3 nights near the historic district. And if you're a landscape or gardening enthusiast, this tour is especially for you, as our first visit is to Middleton Place. That's home of America's oldest landscape garden. And the stone masonry of the buildings, the well-kept grounds, and stunning statues will really bring to light the life in the South. Then it's off on a city tour of Charleston, originally called Charlestown after King Charles, as it was settled by the English in 1670. And this is one of America's oldest cities, sitting next to the Ashley River. Now, Waterfront Park is a beautiful part of town, with its pineapple statue as a symbol of hospitality and welcoming. And Charleston was the commercial center of trade in rice and in indigo for many, many years. Then from there, it's off to continue our journey south, where we see Beaufort, South Carolina. And throughout our journey, you'll see some of the historic mansions of the South, and the Alston House is one of those. It's been through all sorts of chaos with the Civil War and natural disasters, but has stood the test of time. Now, on arrival in Beaufort, we visit the town in style on a carriage ride, and that's a tour through the city. And you'll see charming homes and mansions and beautiful historic properties along the way. We'll stay 2 nights in the city of Savannah, and this is one of my favorite locations in the South. Its European-style charm with its public squares, oak trees, azaleas, along with fountains and statues bring to life its connection with the old world. On our city tour, we'll see the old Cotton Exchange, River Street, and the site of General Sherman's March to the Sea in Madison Square. And then for 2 nights, we're lucky enough to stay at the famed Jekyll Island Club, and that was built in the 1880s. Originally, it was the site of an exclusive hunting club, but once opened under the new name, it was known as the richest, most exclusive, and inaccessible club in the world. Now, the island was home to the Rockefellers, the Goodyear family, as well as many more. And their homes are part of a guided trolley tour that we take that features these historic properties. And we wind down into Florida to fly out of Jacksonville on this departure. And there are 3 dates for this tour. March 31st with Deb Howard. Then we also have April 26th and November 8th. Those are not noted above, but they are in the brochure. So you can ask about those dates when you call in. Now, getting to see our nation's capital is really a special time and event. And it's not any better than to go in April, and that's because of the cherry blossoms. So this is a 6-day, 5-night program that features the nation's capital during its peak time, and the color really gives the DC area so much vibrant energy. Your second day on the tour, you visit Arlington National Cemetery and over 639 acres of memorial to soldiers who served our nation. Then it's off to the White House Visitor Center to learn about the Executive Mansion and presidential families. You'll make your way over to the Tidal Basin, where you'll see the Jefferson, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Martin Luther King, and World War II memorials, as well as going over to the Korea and Vietnam memorials. Then you get a chance to spend time at the Smithsonian Institutes along the Capitol Mall, and that's where you can choose which museum you'd like to see. You'll have some free time to pick and choose. You'll board the Odyssey ship for a cherry blossom cruise, and that has narration as well as a live band and excellent meal. You'll also get to visit and tour the Ford's Theater. That was the site of the infamous Abraham Lincoln assassination. And on the lower level, there's a fantastic museum, and then you can walk up to the theater itself and be right up next to the booth where Lincoln was assassinated. So it really takes you back into history. Then you'll leave the city for Annapolis for lunch on your own, and also begin an Annapolis city tour featuring the U.S. Naval Academy. And on the last full day, you'll get a look inside the U.S. Capitol at the Visitor Center, and that's highlighting the U.S. lawmaking process. From there, it's also off to Mount Vernon, and this is the home of George and Martha Washington, their estate to the south of the city, for a self-guided tour of the property. And here you get to spend some time in the Education Center, learning about George Washington's backstory, where he was part of the British Army, and see the working farm along with Washington's tomb. So it really is a special treat to get to go out to this part of the country. So April 10th is our departure for this year. Now, as a brand new tour for 2023, we're introducing the Nashville Smoky Mountains and Bluegrass Tour. And this program is a blend of the best parts of 3 tours we've done in the past: Music Cities with our time in Nashville, Kentucky with Noah's Ark, and the Smoky Mountain with Pigeon Forge. So it kind of combines all 3 of those fantastic trips. Now, we'll fly into Louisville and get to stay 2 nights at either the Galt House or Brown Hotel. Then from there, it's off to Churchill Downs and the Kentucky Derby Museum. And we start the trip with a visit to the Mecca of horse racing at Churchill Downs. So you'll tour the Kentucky Derby Museum as well, and that preserves the legacy of the longest continuously running sporting event in the country. That dates back to the first Derby in 1875. From there, our next visit takes us to the Louisville Slugger Museum, and that journeys through the history of baseball as well as the bats that have built it. And right across the street is the Muhammad Ali Center, so you can learn about him as well. Then you can't go to Kentucky without learning about its heritage, and that comes with bourbon. So the state of Kentucky sits atop a vast deposit of blue limestone, and that filters out hard iron and imparts sweet-tasting calcium and magnesium. And this is why 90% of the world's bourbon is produced here. And we visit the Evan Williams Distillery for the bourbon experience. And he founded the first distillery, not sure if it was legal or illegal at the time, but on the banks of the Ohio River in 1783. So wonderful time to get to try a local specialty. Then we get to go over to the Ark Encounter, and that features a full-sized Noah's Ark built according to the dimensions given in the Bible. Now it spans 510 feet long, 85 feet wide, and 51 feet high. It's the largest timber frame structure in the world, and they have all sorts of different exhibits, not only on the animals, but also the lifestyle aboard the Ark in living quarters. From there, we leave Louisville and head to Lexington, and that's where we visit the Kentucky Horse Park that celebrates man's relationship with this majestic animal. So since about 1978, the Kentucky's Horse Park's mission has been to celebrate the relationship with the horse through education, exhibition, engagement, and competition. So owned and operated by the Commonwealth of Kentucky, each year they host over 500,000 visitors from around the world. Now, the Great Smoky Mountains National Park is also incorporated with this tour, and it's a scenic wilderness area covering 816 square miles and established in 1934 to protect a hardwood forest. And it's called the Smokies because it does have usually a layer of clouds right over the top of it. You can kind of see that here. And it's home to many species of animals, including the black bear, wild boar, foxes, and wolves. And back in 2021, it was the most visited national park with over 12 million visitors per year. Now we take you into the beautiful state of North Carolina and head to the Biltmore Estate, which was constructed in 1895 for George Washington Vanderbilt. It's a beautiful property here, massive gardens, and I'll show you those right here. And this 250-room chateau has all sorts of manicured gardens and grounds designed by none other than Frederick Law Olmsted, and they'll take your breath away with all the expansiveness of this property. Now then, on our last 2 days, we spent that time in the magical city of Nashville, and this is so much to really love about this city, whether it's the actual views, downtown area with all sorts of restaurants, but especially if you're a music fan. And on Broadway, the streets lined with music venues left and right. And Music Row, as it's called, is home to all different styles of sound. We spend those 2 nights at this beautiful property, the Gaylord Opryland in Nashville. Bright rooms, very comfortable setting. And this expansive hotel has so much to see and do. You could honestly spend 2 full days alone just exploring the property. You have a choice of numerous restaurants on site on arrival night, whether it's a steakhouse, Italian food, seafood, or Irish fare. And the property is also an experience unto itself. So you have almost 3,000 rooms, 165 suites, and huge atrium with beautiful views as well. Now, as part of our city tour in Nashville, we include a stop at the Country Music Hall of Fame. And this extensive museum is dedicated to the music that put Nashville on the map, primarily through the Grand Ole Opry and that famous radio show, but also through the other venues in town as well. Now, on our city tour, we also incorporate stops at the Ryman Auditorium, which is known as the Mother Church of Country Music. And our grand finale is a performance of America's longest running radio show at the Grand Ole Opry. So we do get to come back that evening for a performance. So this fantastic tour, again, has 2 departure dates, April 26th in the spring and September 20th with Deb Howard. So fantastic different locations that we visit on this tour. But again, 6 days and 8 meals incorporated. Now, Cape Cod and the Islands is our most popular East Coast tour. And this historic and awe-inspiring destination brings to light both colonial as well as modern highlights. So Boston is one of the largest cities in the US and the largest city in both Massachusetts and New England. And you'll enjoy a city tour that features much of the history of our country's foundation before heading out to the Cape. Now, Cape Cod is a hooked sandy peninsula from the glacial period and encompasses southeastern Massachusetts. It extends about 65 miles, as you can see in the bottom left corner, up and around to Provincetown. Just a beautiful stretch. It's also home to Plymouth, Massachusetts, and home to the Pilgrims, who came over on the Mayflower in 1620. Now we'll visit a replica of the ship, the Mayflower II, and the original plantation, as well as a stop to see Plymouth Rock. Now we stay 5 nights in either Hyannis or Yarmouth, and journey to many of the sites, including ferry rides out to Nantucket, where we get to see the Whaling Museum, and also to Martha's Vineyard. And this is a beautiful site. We have a group out there right now. Then we enjoy a city tour of Newport, Rhode Island, and the famous Breakers Mansion. And that's home to the Vanderbilt family in the late 1800s. I believe it was built around 1895. And they lived there into the early 1900s. Now, this is our most popular East Coast tour, as I mentioned before, and you can see the extensive list of dates, June, July, August, and September. Now, we also have included a cranberry bog visit on this tour, and we wind down this trip with a lobster dinner for the farewell. So really fantastic program, 7 days and 9 meals included. Now, this is a program I'm really excited to talk about, primarily because I'm heading off in just about 9 days to go lead it. And this tour really brings to life the best of what Italy has to offer. It focuses on the heart of the country and the hills of Chianti, with short distances to each of our sites, and a 1 hotel stay for 7 nights in the center of the Tuscan region of Italy. So we enjoy a full day of touring in the city of Florence, where our morning includes a city tour that features the Accademia with Michelangelo's David. We'll also walk along the Duomo, Florence's cathedral, and the baptistry, and learn all about the architectural Renaissance that matched the timeline of the artistic Renaissance and brought with it huge improvements in structural design. Then we make our way over to the River Arno, in between, kind of splits the city right in two, and we head over to the Ponte Vecchio, and that's Florence's old bridge. That's where all of the gold distributors and sellers were stationed. And all the while taking in the sights and smells of the home to the world's largest outdoor art gallery. There are statues and art pieces all over the city, and it's a beautiful place just to walk around and explore. And you'll have some time to do so that afternoon. We have some free time to explore, and then also have dinner included in the city there. Now, outside of Florence, we incorporate a cooking class to try your hand at homemade pastas, and a winery tour, multiple winery tours actually, that feature 2 styles of wine, and that's Chianti, which is primarily around the region that we're staying in. That is from Sangiovese. Then Brunello as well, that's just to the south in Montalcino. And our Brunello tasting is done where a sommelier walks us through the tasting process and talks about the traditions of this famous region. Now, one of their traditions is to play music while the grapes grow out in the vineyards. So it's kind of an interesting location, and the Italians are so much fun, especially through our different demonstrations. Then we incorporate a lunch at a saffron-producing farmhouse near San Gimignano, and visit to both San Gimignano as well as Siena. And then we also have a lake cruise out to Isola Maggiore, and this is the largest island on Lake Trasimeno, where we have lunch, dessert, and coffee at a nice, relaxing pace. Then several of the other components that we have on this program a Tuscan farmhouse dinner with wine included in that as well, and a wonderful trip down to the town of Pienza, very small community, and there we do a pecorino cheese tasting at a local farm. So really wonderful program that combines all sorts of food and wine experiences throughout, and it's unlike any other tour. So we have 3 dates in 2023, and I can't recommend this tour enough. It's a great way to see Europe and Italy specifically. Then Athens and the Greek Isles is a Mediterranean dream. In the recent brochure, you can see the October dates for this year are waitlisted, so don't wait on booking the 2023 dates as they may sell out. But Athens is a historical capital of Europe, and its history stretches over 3,400 years. Its climate is superb with the legendary Greek sunlight overlooking the sea, and the city of Parthenon is an open-air museum, and a large part of the city center has been converted into pedestrian zone. So we see the Parthenon and the Acropolis on our city tour, along with many other sites like the Olympic Stadium. Then it's off to the islands, and we're taking a high-speed ferry across the Aegean Sea to Mykonos for 2 nights. And the island was named after the hero Mykonos, and this was known as the place where the giants slain by Hercules were laid to rest. And you can see that there's huge boulders that are laid out, and that's where they say they were buried. There are 2 faces to the island. One is the populated cosmopolitan, and the other is more homely with stone-paved alleys, whitewashed houses, and those windmills that were granaries. And we also take a side trip from here to Delos, which is a large archaeological site. And from our 2 nights in Mykonos, we head for 2 nights in Santorini. And these beautiful whitewashed homes that you can see in the upper right-hand corner, sitting above the cliffs looking out on the sea. So Santorini, known in ancient times as Thera, is one of the most famous islands in the world. And you'll get a chance to visit a local winery for a wine tasting, which the grapes are actually grown through volcanic soil, and that creates somewhat of a unique taste. Then you'll explore the island's villages and visit a museum with a free day on Santorini before we return back to Athens to fly out. Now, on this program, we also offer a 3-night optional extension to northern Greece, and that features Athens, Kalambaka, and Delphi. Now, Delphi was home to the oracle, who gave prophecies from the gods. I could do the same thing for you for about $5. Now, Alpine Swiss Villages is a really unique and charming itinerary, and it focuses on the smaller villages and takes you out of the big cities, so you can see how the Swiss truly live close to their original customs. Now, the Swiss Confederation was formed in 1291 and has held firm to its several cantons or regions that combine for the good of the entire population. Now, we start the tour in Zurich on arrival for 1 night, but soon we're off to the smaller towns and communities. So we stop in Bern to see the famous clock and visit the city. Then it's off to Lauterbrunnen, and here we take the Cogway up to a town called Wengen. And this is truly a small Swiss village up in the Alps. And there we stay 6 nights in this beautiful property. And each day we take a different mode of transportation with the Swiss transportation system. It's such a fluid process. They're so organized, and it's really unlike any other tour when it comes to getting around. So we do leave the motor coach for several days and get to travel in style like the Swiss do. Now, our visits include the base towns of Alpine mountains like Grindelwald and Gimmelwald. In Grindelwald, it sits at the base of the Eiger, and this is a peak in the Alps for the strongest mountain climbers in the world at over 13,000 feet. Now, we also enjoy a lake cruise on Lake Brienz and time in Interlaken, and then also head out to Lucerne for a bit. So all sorts of different small villages and towns to get a true feel of the Swiss life. And then we also offer an optional day trip down to Zermatt. That's at the heart of the Matterhorn and really is a beautiful village. So this one is 2 different dates for next year, July 19th and August 16th with Chris McCool. Now, Holland Windmills, Waterways, and Tulips. I introduced this program just a couple of months ago, and it is close to selling out. So we only have a handful of cabins remaining on this. But 7 nights aboard the beautiful Amadeus Queen, and that was built in 2018. It's a beautiful ship We start out with one night in Amsterdam at a local hotel, and then get a true Dutch experience on the first full day. And that's by going into an area called Zanziskans. And this is your picturesque Dutch life with windmills, tulips, beautiful canals. And then they also have a clog factory where you can learn all about the shoemaking process. And then a little gift shop as well as a eatery. And they produce fantastic pancakes and Dutch specialties. Then it's off to Arnhem and a World War II museum. So Arnhem was the heart of one of the main paratrooper drops in World War II, and a huge battle was fought over that bridge. And our ship will actually be docked right next to that bridge, so you can get great photos of that. Then from there, we're off to Middelburg, and Middelburg is a fantastic small town just outside a little ways from Amsterdam. Before we head off to two really important sites, and that is an optional tour to Ghent the following morning. And Ghent is home to the famous Ghent altarpiece. And this is a 12-panel segment of art dating back to the Renaissance. And this was the Northern Renaissance, focusing on Belgium and the Netherlands, at the same time as the Southern Renaissance in Italy. Then we also head over to Bruges, and the Bruges City Tour is an included feature. And that is a wonderful city with all sorts of canals you can see in the bottom right corner of the screen. Wonderful city center. It's one of the most beautiful squares in all of Europe, and some fantastic food like Belgian waffles and so much more, Belgian chocolates, everything else. Then we truly wind down this trip with a fantastic experience going to the Keukenhof Gardens. And this is a location where over 30 gardeners plant bulbs in October, and they bloom at this time. This is why we go in April, is for the tulip blooms. So Keukenhof is a beautiful site with amazing landscape and stretches over many, many acres. And it really is a highlight and grand finale of this tour. Now we also have a optional extension, and that takes you down into the town of Valkenburg in the south of Holland. And so Valkenburg is a beautiful city perched up over the hills, and a beautiful castle ruin as well as caves there. Really fun town with great cafes. And then we do a full day tour of 3 countries. So we do a cemetery in Belgium that's dedicated to those that died during the Battle of the Bulge. We go to the town of Maastricht, which is in the south of Holland, and that's one of the largest cities in the Netherlands. Then we also incorporate the town of Monschau in Germany, and this is your true picturesque German town. So wonderful optional there, 2 nights. This tour departs April 26th. Now, Burgundy, Provence, and this wonderful Rhone River cruise. This is a spectacular opportunity to see the best of France. And so we'll start out just talking about the experience as a whole on the rivers and give you an idea with this video clip. So this cruise features 7 nights aboard the Amadeus Provence, and this ship was built in 2017, holds less than 140 passengers, so it really does feel quaint and cozy. There are about 8 suites, so only 8 suites available on board, and these are the first categories that get booked out on any of our cruises. So they're much more spacious, and the balcony doors allow for an open-air journey in this beautiful, beautiful stretch. Now, the Provence also has a pool, an infinity pool in the back of the ship, and really does create a great experience to see the best of France as we're working our way through. Now, we include round-trip air in and out of Lyon. And so as we're working through here, I'll show you a couple of slides of the ship. Not only does it have a great shuffleboard court, also a chessboard on the upper deck, and some great weather there as well. And as we're continuing on, we fly in and out of Lyon, which makes for a very convenient travel day, a very quick trip from the airport to the ship. As with all of our cruises, free wine and beer, as well as soft drinks, are included with dinners as well. And then one of the highlights of this tour is really getting out to the wine regions in Burgundy. And so we highlight the town of Mâcon, which is towards the upper north portion of Burgundy. And it really is a stunning location, surrounded by vineyards in the outskirts of town. So Mâcon as a city is right on the river, and that's where we dock. And then there are several different excursions out and about to get to see these beautiful vineyards. Now, within this area, it's also the hub of the Mâconnais region of Burgundy, and that produces most famous wines in all of France. And so most know it for Pinot Noirs, some darker reds, but primarily Chardonnay as well. So great producer of Chardonnay, and you can find that all over. Now, as we continue, we head into the area of Beaune. And Beaune is a beautiful location, really a fantastic city as a whole, and we get to tour a walled town with this beautiful visit to the Hôtel Dieu. And this was built in 1443. Its polychrome roof and Gothic architecture are unmatched by anything else I've seen. And it was built as a hospital for the poor in a period just after the plague and was managed by the Holy See. You'll tour the entire facility with its master artworks inside, nearby vineyards, and special architecture that make it a memorable stop on the tour. Then it's off to Brancion, and Brancion really does remind me of Beauty and the Beast when she's hanging out the window of this beautiful stone home. So you can see on the left-hand side that kind of picturesque image. And Brancion is a small town up on the hills overlooking the valley with beautiful views as well. And then we're off to Cormatin, and this is a chateau with many, many rooms as well as a stunning garden. Well manicured, beautiful landscape garden. Now, inside the chateau itself are all sorts of fantastic artworks, statues, and so much more, and the architecture inside is beautiful. Then we're off to the city of Lyon again, so we kind of go north up to Mâcon and then come back into Lyon for time spent on a city tour. And here we get to go up to the top of the city, up to the cathedral. Then we also incorporate a visit into Old Town, and this is one of my favorite parts of the entire city. Beautiful cafes, restaurants, and fantastic shops. This also incorporates multiple cultures. So you have a large Italian theme in Old Town, as well as many other different styles of cuisine and shops as well. From there, it's off to the city of Avignon. And this is the site of the Palace of the Popes. So we actually do a full tour inside of this beautiful building, which was home to the popes for many, many years in the south of France. Then we do have some time on the river itself just to cruise at leisure and enjoy the outdoors, whether on the upper deck or in your balcony cabin. And then the town of Arles. This is one of the furthest south points that we visit, and this was a town that I had no expectations going in, but this beautiful amphitheater, Roman-style amphitheater, that we get to tour the town as well as inside. And it really does bring to life its connections and its roots with Rome. So wonderful, stunning views all around this town. Now we also offer an extension tour out to Paris. So if you want to extend your tour a couple of nights, we do 2 nights in Paris. And en route, we stop in the town of Dijon and do a city tour there en route. We'll do a Paris city tour as well as a cruise, short cruise on the Seine. And then you'll have a free afternoon in Paris. And that's a great opportunity to visit the Louvre or any one of the wonderful museums, or just do a shopping day out on the streets. So really beautiful place to be. All along the river, there's all sorts of little art stands and books. So if that's your thing, that's a great time to spend as well. And then you can also see the Notre Dame as part of our tour. I don't believe we're able to go inside at this point because it's still under construction after that great fire, but a really beautiful facility as a whole. So wonderful tour. We head out on October 25th, and Deb Howard will be leading that, but I highly recommend this cruise as it's a wonderful experience through the south of France. Now, when we do these VTS, we do all sorts of show specials for attendees. So if you book a new 2022 or 2023 tour or river cruise by next Friday, the 7th of October, we offer a $199 low-cost deposit. Now that's about $100 off of the deposit from our brochure rate. And then we're also offering a 1 category upgrade on our river cruises. And that is the November 28th Vienna and Christmas Markets cruise for this year, so 2022. April 23 Holland Windmills and Waterways River Cruise on the 26th of April. And then our October 25th Burgundy and Provence River Cruise. So that 1 category upgrade, if you book the lower category, you get automatically upgraded. And that's a savings of about $200 to $400 per person. I also got the news that I'm going on that Vienna and Christmas Markets River Cruise in November. So I hope you'll join me for that because it's a wonderful trip down the Danube and getting to see all these beautiful sights in Germany and Austria. And the Christmas markets themselves are truly special as well. Then we're offering a $20 discount on travel protection. That's our travel insurance plan if you pay with deposit. Again, you must use the code 2023 when you book by next Friday for these show specials. So how do you book? You can call us at 858-481-8188 or our 1-800 number as well. That 858 number is local in San Diego. You can email Joe, Holly, or April. Joe, Holly, or April at afctours.com. And then we also have reservation forms on our website. So that's afcvacations.com. I want to thank you for attending today, taking the time to come through this journey of different departures that we have to offer. And if you do have any questions, you can email April at afctours.com or any one of the reservationists I mentioned before. So thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to our next one in just over a month. Have a wonderful day, and thanks for traveling with AFC Vacations.